Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with the wrap-up video for our Playing on a Budget RG Aggro. Absolutely love this deck. It was a lot of fun to play. And it actually gave me some ideas for another deck. I am wanting to brew around more of this little route here and less of the actual aggro. So the Boon Satyrs can stay in here for this. Well, let's just talk about the games. I think that the Abzan and the Jeskai mid-range decks are very winnable. They are... The draws, we can argue about draws all until our faces are blue about, you know, if I did get decent draws, bad draws, should have kept those hands, should have molded those hands, whatnot. But we did, it was 2-1s, both those games were 1-2 losses. It could have gone either way. I do still feel that our game 3 hands on both of those turned out way less than average, way less than ideal. But you can see that it can be very aggressive, especially like the Abzan. Abzan, he was getting those Fleecemane Lions and the Anafenza on respected turn 2 and turn 3. And that deck plays an insane amount of comes into play tap lands with the Sandstone Steps as well as the Temples. And so that scenario is not going to happen. It's going to more than likely be 3rd turn Fleecemane Lions and 4th turn Anafenzas and possibly even 5th turn Siege Rhinos a lot of the times, as the curve just won't work out as expected. Anyway, so again, those matchups and the Mardu one, or the Jeskai one especially, is a winnable matchup if we can just get the right amount of card composition against what he's running. So Soul of Flames could easily go in this deck. It'd be a way to deal with like Bramaz or Anafenza. And it might have some merit to put in here. You don't have a lot of, especially if you do run the Rabblemaster version of this instead of the Minotaur Skullcleaver. I was actually very impressed with Minotaur Skullcleaver. I thought he was a great slot here, especially for a budget, as he gets to the he gets to that Ferocious quite easily, whereas the Goblin Rabblemaster will need 2 tokens out to get to that Ferocious. So, and then gets in there immediately for 4 damage, whereas Goblin Rabblemaster gets in there for 1, with all the hostile environment for Goblin Rabblemaster being the Drown in Sorrows, Bile Blights, and Hostilities, the Anger of Gods. Minotaur Skullcleaver, a lot of times that more guaranteed 4 damage, and this card isn't dead late game. It's still 4 damage if your opponent is taps out. So loving this card in the slot. Let me know what you think about it. But anyway, the deck that I'm thinking about building is just more utilizing a lot of control. So again, this package would most likely come out right here. And what I would run is, in this slot, is we could bring in some Hornet Queens. I'd probably bring in all 4 Hornet Queens. And again, Boon Satyr is kind of on the verge here of if we'd want them or not. And then Genesis Hydra could come in here. Just any sort of big green that they usually use in the Unite Those Shrine of Nyx type deck. And even the Nissa wouldn't be too bad in this deck either with the Dictate of Karametra. But I'm thinking Dictate of Karametra is a very underrated card. We saw the power of it in that last game if you play a high land count and actually have a lot of lands. So what I'm suggesting is playing a lot of control, like Anger of the Gods main board. So playing a lot of Anger of Gods, probably search up the Jeskai control and see exactly what they use. And you could splash in blue and even go Prophet of Krufix. Wouldn't be too shabby, because Prophet of Krufix is not a bad card. Untaps all your lands during your opponent's turn. Not prophetic. Well, Prophet of Krufix here. And then we have this whole double lands on each of our turns, flash type deck. You could have access to some cool flash cards that normally aren't good enough to see play, like, because of the monsters are just too high casting cost. The card that I've always wanted to see play is the where is it? Fleet Feather Cockatrice. Is Death Touch, Flash Death Touch 3/3, and then Monstrous for 8 or for 7 to become a 6/6. So again, it just doesn't quite have the stats to really make it constructed playable. But in a deck that doesn't care about mana, even cards like Pearl Lake Ancient become a lot easier to cast with Dictate of Karametra. And then you could go card draw through either cards like Dig Through Time or Treasure Cruise, or I'm sure there's even better card draw if you're not worried about mana. Blue gives you access to Sarek, which makes it so your creatures can't be countered, and he can't be countered either, which is getting very significant in the format with a lot of these Azorius or Esper or Dimir control decks that do rely on countering a lot of cards. Jeskai control as well. So there's that option. You could always go into black. Black could do some insane things with the higher casting cost black cards. But I think the Stormbreath Dragon being able to monstrosity it pretty easily, make it a 7/7 on, you know, casting Dictate of Karametra late game. If you just control, again, Karanos can come in with the blue. And I really think there's merit to this. So if you can come up with a good list that runs this, I'd love to see your version. But the main thing I want to try to see is Dictate in conjunction with Mistcutter Hydra and Creator's Claw, and maybe some other, you know, like I said, higher mana casting cost spells. I know there's the Revel that puts in 4/2/2s. I don't think for is it like 7 mana for 4/2/2s? That might be worth considering. You could actually even put Xenagos in here. It's another way to generate some more mana, but again, you'd have to have more creatures out and kind of counterproductive with Anger of Gods. Again, I think Nissa is probably the right piece here, and then you just go control, and then flash cards that actually have some sort of upswing. So either Pearl Lake Ancient or Surak would probably be the right way to go with this. So let me know what your comments section, what you do this deck if it wasn't on a budget, how you thought this deck worked. I personally loved it. This is I'm more of a mid-range aggro deck. If I love Elvish Mystic into a 3-drop. It's always been one of those Llanowar Elves into a turn 3. You cheated out a turn early has always been one of my favorite plays throughout the history of my Magic career. And I've always wanted to get Fanatic of Xenagos. When this card was spoiled, I really thought it was more powerful than people were giving it credit for. And now in the format, with Bile-Blight not seeing as much play as it used to, with people playing a lot of like Last Breaths or later removal, Fanatic of Xenagos, especially if they wanted to keep you off Ferocious, has some, you know, really cool interactions in this deck, and I was very impressed with it. So again, comments appreciated. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.